This is the guy that had Michael Jordan asking him how he got a pair of Jordans. Like, we could stop right there. What's going on, guys? I'm Resetar from Slam Magazine, and today we're looking at some of our favorite sneakers worn on NBA courts in recent memory. James Harden. Right after Kobe Bryant passed away, we saw players from high school, college, pro, women's side, EuroLeague, all pay tribute to Kobe and Gigi with their sneakers. And every tribute was special in its own way. These question mids that James Harden is wearing was, to me, the most special tribute because no one else wore these. The history of this shoe, as it's connected to Kobe, is very, very, very significant within sneaker history, within Kobe's history, and now within James Harden's history. Just to back it up a little bit, Kobe Bryant wore Adidas from 96 to 2002. He bought himself out of that contract with Adidas. And a clause in that contract said that he couldn't sign with another sneaker brand for an entire season. So Kobe's 2003 season goes down as the best sneaker free agency season of all time by far. Everyone was trying to get him to sign with them. Reebok, Nike, Jordan. So Reebok, of course, joined in on the party, and they sent him question mid PEs, question mid Allen Iverson's first signature sneaker of all time, probably Reebok's best basketball shoe ever. They sent him these PEs to try to get him to sign with Reebok. Of course, it didn't work. He went on to sign with Nike. But this is a rare shoe. This is a very rare shoe. Not many out there. They had plans, actually, before Kobe passed, to release these in a different variation, but they were going to release some Kobe question PEs. Those plans have been scrapped. But James Harden is a California kid. He was back in LA shortly after Kobe passed away, and this was a very touching tribute to Kobe. PJ Tucker. About a week before Kobe passed away, PJ showed up to a game against the Lakers in a pair of Kobe Air Jordan 3s. And this is an Air Jordan 3 that has a white base and then Laker accents, so gold and purple. So this goes back to that sneaker free agency season when all the brands were trying to sign Kobe. Some of the Air Jordans that he played in Concord 11s, which were just a general release. But then he also got PEs, which stands for Player Edition. He got PEs of the 3, the 7, and the 8. And so PJ, somehow, some way, he's a sneaker king. He was able to track down a pair of these Kobe 3s to wear against the Lakers earlier this season. You know, part of the thing that makes PJ the sneaker king is the knowledge that he has. This is something that we like to call strategic feats. And what that means, anytime that you play a team that has a legend or you're in that player's city, it's always a great idea to put on a pair of their shoes, a pair of shoes that they made famous. You know, PJ is not the only person that does this. Montrezl Harrell does it. Langston Galloway does it. Taurean Prince does it. Again, this is a week before Kobe passed away. And so this shows the reverence that all these players have for Kobe, for his sneaker line. And this was a pair that never dropped. It's honestly a priceless sneaker. Like, there is no market for it, but this was a great, great, great sneaker appearance by the Sneaker King. We got to rewind real quick. We got to go back to 2017. So in 2017, Drake was Jordan Brand's guy. Officially, he was part of the brand. And he posted an Instagram video of 3 sneakers. One of them was the Tokyo Air Jordan 5, which is a super rare shoe, super fire. All due respect to that shoe. No one's knocking that. But the 2 other pairs that he posted were Air Jordan 11 samples. So these were Air Jordan 11s that were just made for him and his OVO team. One of them was a pink snakeskin, and the other one was a gray snakeskin. And they never saw the light of day. You know, this is maybe 15 pairs out in existence, maybe less, who knows. But PJ, Sneaker King, was able to track down a pair of each, and during this season he played in each colorway. And this was at one point a store in Portland called Index was able to get a size 10 in each colorway, and they sold those pairs for $12,500 each. So that gives you an idea of the magnitude of this colorway that PJ Tucker played in a combined $25,000 on the court. Jordan Brand keeps the 11 super limited. They keep the 11 for PEs, I should say. They keep 11 PEs limited for champions and record breakers. So, you know, Ray Allen has 11 PEs, Chris Paul has 11 PEs, Carmelo Anthony, a few track stars, a few golfers, CeCe Sabathia and Derek Jeter, champions. So Drake, he's Drake. You don't have to say anything. I'd say it's very unlikely that we see these pairs ever. LeBron James. So I would put the LeBron 15 in the top 3 of LeBron's footwear of his signature line, up there with the Air Zoom Generation, which is his first shoe, and the LeBron 7, which is the first LeBron that had Flywire, had a full-length airbag, had a patent leather toe brand, just like the Air Jordan 11. But the LeBron 15, what separates the LeBron 15 from the rest of LeBron's line is LeBron Watch. So what that was, LeBron's fandom for basketball and for sports goes back a long time. It goes back to when he was a kid growing up in Akron, when he was idolizing Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson. What LeBron Watch did was it took the treatments of those legendary sneakers and they applied it to the LeBron 15. So what we have here is the Yeezy 1 LeBron 15, and the Yeezy 1 needs no introduction. The net colorway that we see right here is dropped in June 09, blew everything up. Kanye's sneaker line with Nike is extremely influential. And honestly, if you look at Kanye's line of work as a whole, he hasn't had any type of drop-off in production since these Yeezy 1s that inspired this LeBron 15. So you combine that history right there with the LeBron 15 history, where it's just this melting pot of history, of basketball history, of footwear history. And LeBron played in these. This is now his second time that he's played in these. And man, these are some beautiful shoes right here. Beautiful shoes. Emmanuel Mudiay. Emmanuel Mudiay came into the NBA with an Under Armour contract, so he was one of the people on the UA family, and that contract expired this season. He had a nice sneaker season. He played in some heat. He had a consistent run with some Air Jordans. He has some nice Nikes, but this by far, this is the DRose 1.5, and this is the shoe that DRose wore in the back half of his MVP season, which happened in 2011. So Mudiay, with his now sneaker free agency, man, he made a beautiful tribute to DRose, to one of the most influential seasons that I've ever seen. You know, coming up, the 2011 DRose is the youngest MVP of all time, and one of the most electrifying and inspiring players that we've ever seen on a basketball court. You know, he had no fear, top 10 athleticism ever. If you want to put a number on it, that season was a masterpiece. So for Mudiay to rock these, this is now the retro version. Adidas came out with the DRose 1 at All-Star Weekend, and the DRose 1.5 retro followed up. So this has sprint frame tooling, which is, it goes from the heel all the way up to the toe, and that's the tooling that the upper rests on, which is also made of sprint material. It's called sprint skin. Super lightweight material for the upper with some mesh hits, some leather also. This is Adidas in the early 2010s. This is their bread and butter. This was a commercial for DRose where this was, you know, every year it seemed like the DRose commercials were just hitting. They were all fire. So in this particular commercial, just to demonstrate DRose's speed, starts off in fast motion, in regular speed, and DRose starts to spin the shoe on his finger. And then all of a sudden it just cuts and it goes in slow motion, and DRose kind of looks up. He gives like the you can't guard me type face with his shoe still spinning. Super fire commercial, super fire move by Mudiay to bring these out, and just to show again the knowledge of when Mudiay was coming up. You know, he was right around that age for that DRose season to be impacted by those legendary performances. Royce O'Neale. Royce O'Neale had a pretty impressive sneaker season. He made it known that he likes to customize his footwear. So he played in an Iron Man colorway of the Kyrie Low 2. He played in a Dragon Ball Z colorway of some Kobe ADs. But by far, this was the best custom sneaker that we've seen this season. This is a tribute to the late 90s Jazz with the mountain jerseys. John Stockton, Karl Malone, Brian Russell, Jeff Hornacek. They all wore this jersey. And the Jazz brought the jersey back. And so, you know, there's one night early in the season where they were wearing that uniform, and Royce O'Neale was able to hook up with Andrew Lewis, who is now a pretty popular sneaker customizer for NBA players. And they just body this custom. This is perfectly done. They made perfect use of the real estate of the Zoom Freak 1, which is Giannis Antetokounmpo's debut signature sneaker. And this was just, you know, perfect execution. No one knew it was coming. So the night that he wore it, it blew up on Instagram. Everyone was talking about it. He had a good game. Custom sneakers have now become pretty popular in the NBA. Believe me, it's easy to go OD with these. You can definitely mess up a pair of custom kicks. But this was just a perfect mix. This was a great use of historical throwback with a brand new pair of sneakers. Langston Galloway. Langston Galloway is a true sneakerhead. This is a dude that has a genuine knowledge of footwear, of sneaker history, and that is truly reflected in his work with Q4. So a lot of people don't really know Q4. Q4 is a relatively new company. They have a few NBA players. A notable one would also be Etuan Moore, the sharpshooter from the New Orleans Pelicans. But the amazing thing about Q4 is knowing Langston's passion and knowledge for footwear, they said, all right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to sign with us. You can wear the Specialist, which is the shoe that you see here. But we're going to let you customize every single colorway that you want for every single game. So LG, since 2017, has pretty much played in a new colorway for every game. And this goes SpongeBob, Black History Month, Detroit Pistons Bad Boys, all the way up to the Selena colorway, which we see here. And the story with this is the Pistons were in Mexico earlier this season for a regular season game. And for those who don't know, Selena is one of the best vocalists in modern times. She was tragically murdered just when she was 23 years old. So this was a tribute to Selena in Mexico. And it just shows the power of footwear and the power of storytelling, which is why, you know, we all gravitate to these sneakers. It's because of the moments and the memories and the stories that you can tell without saying anything. You know, this shows LG's respect for Selena. It shows a plan that he had in his head to make sure that this sneaker was done before he was in Mexico. And again, this is Andrew Lewis, who worked with Royce O'Neale. He does pretty much all of LG's customs. He's an amazing artist, and they have a really good creative flow that they work with. It's not too much, it's just perfect. It shows her portrait, her signature, and it's a really nice tribute to a really great singer. Donovan Mitchell. One of the most amazing things about social media now is how it has brought global issues to the front door of, you know, not only the people that were always talking, the adults that were always talking about it, but young people that now have a voice and a platform to spread awareness about catastrophes that affect all of humanity. So Donovan Mitchell is one of those people. And this is not the first time that he has used his platform to shed light on, you know, things that people need help with. He also had an autism awareness colorway of his signature shoe. He's multiple times given platform to kids just to help and to inspire different people that maybe weren't able to get the help that he got or that he wanted when he was coming up, and he wanted to be more than a basketball player. So with this colorway that he showed up to in Brooklyn, and rather than flex with a, you know, crazy colorway that just looked good, he wore one sneaker for Puerto Rico and one sneaker for Australia to raise awareness for the Australian brush fires that were happening early in the year and the Puerto Rican earthquakes that were also happening. And so this pair, after this game, was auctioned off, and the funds from that auction went to relief efforts in both of those places. So again, this is just the power of footwear. And this is, you know, there's a lot of hype releases that we could have covered in this video, and there's a lot of, you know, different Jumpman and swoosh and all that type of stuff. But the footwear that really means something is the stuff that goes beyond the basketball court, and it goes beyond just that one player. And this is the perfect example of that moment right there. Austin Rivers. It was just a regular night in December in 2019 when Austin Rivers decided to blow up the sneaker internet. He just decided to show up in these Pro Model 2Gs. And the reason I say that he blew up the sneaker internet is because when you rewind to the early 2000s, these Pro Models right here were everywhere. I promise you, everywhere. Middle school basketball, high school basketball, college basketball, the NBA, the WNBA, it does not matter what level of basketball, who was playing, man or woman. This shoe was everywhere. You know, 26 years old, so I fully remember this moment. When he brought these out, happened out of nowhere. You know, and Adidas had no real push, no real way of letting us know that this was a retro model that was coming. Crazy thing about a retro model is now we have a little bit of an Inception type thing going, because this is a retro of a retro. So in the 70s, the Pro Model was made out of leather, just, you know, nice tumbled leather. And this was when Adidas was really killing, like they were killing the game. This was when they had, you know, Jerry West wearing the Superstars. They had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He had his own shoe. And then they had this Pro Model. This is way before Nike got going. Converse was around. Converse was, you know, a little bit in the picture. You had Puma with Walt Clyde Frazier. All due respect to him and those shoes. But Adidas was killing it. And the Pro Model was a big part of that. So when they then retroed them in 2000s, in the early to mid 2000s, they replaced the premium leather with this patent leather, the shiny patent leather that you see here in this photo. And again, people just went crazy. This shoe was everywhere. AAU, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So Austin Rivers showed up in these, and it just opened the floodgates. And for the rest of the season, Adidas had the Pro Model flowing. They had it going. And so Pat Bev got a PE, Zach LaVine got a PE, Kyle Lowry got a PE. And then at All-Star Weekend in Chicago, they had this metallic gold joint come out. And this was really setting up to be the year of the Pro Model. So hopefully once we get basketball back, we can see some more Pro Models, because, man, this shoe right here is a time machine for a lot of us that grew up with it. We can place ourselves right back in the 2000s, listening to all the old music that we used to listen to and playing ball in these shoes right here. Vince Carter. The Dunk of Death. So the Dunk of Death happened at the 2000 Olympics. And the reason it's called the Dunk of Death is because Vince Carter, no funny, like no BS, 100% cleared a 7-footer, just soared right over him and put down the nastiest in-game dunk that we've ever seen. I promise that's the nastiest in-game dunk we've ever seen. And the shoe that Vince was wearing during the Dunk of Death is called the Shox BB4. And it's a shoe that is now synonymous with Vince. One of the shoes that Nike was trying to sway him with during his own sneaker free agency. Vince bought himself out of his Puma contract. Vince famously wore the Puma Cell, which is this giant 90s basketball shoe. And so before you have the DeAndre Ayton and Marvin Bagley renaissance of Puma a few years ago, Vince was really the last dude to wear Puma basketball shoes in the NBA. And, you go into the M1 Tai Chi, which is what he wore in the dunk contest in 2000, a few months before the Dunk of Death. And then once he has the Dunk of Death, the Shox BB4, forever linked with Vince, he goes on to wear them during the regular season. All of his signature line with Nike has Shox technology. Shox technology is, you can find it in the heel of these shoes, just a bouncy. That's all you got to know. And a few years ago in 2018, we weren't really sure. Vince never really confirmed whether he was going to retire. Whether the 2018-19 season would be his last season. So Nike brought the Shox back. They retroed the Shox. They would end up releasing a few months later, and Vince played that entire season of 2018-19 in the Shox. And this season, he played in 2 different Raptors-themed Shox BB4 PEs. So even though he plays in Atlanta, they hooked him up with these amazing PEs that have Raptor claws coming out the sides of them. This is Vince's last season, and the impact that Vince Carter has had on basketball, it really can't be overstated. And sometimes he gets overlooked in the history of basketball. But when you look at his impact on Canadian basketball, he inspired an entire nation to play ball. Now we have countless Canadians, men and women, that have been able to make the pros in America because of Vince, because of the inspiration he provided to them, because of the joy that he played the game with, because of the crazy-ass jumping ability that he had and the clutch shots that he would go on to hit later on in his career. I know what you're going to say, the 2001 playoffs. Don't worry about that. Vince has the most game winners in NBA history. So there's a little fact for you right there. This dude is a legend, certified. He's a lock for the Hall of Fame. And these PEs, another time machine for us that grew up with Vince, for us that grew up with the Shox and wanting the Shox. And so when Nike retroed them, it was an amazing moment. And then when they blessed him with these PEs, a really fitting end to a Hall of Fame career. If you go back a few years now, just like what happened with the NBA dress code, it started off super strict because of this man right behind me. Shout out to this legend. They had to institute the dress code. But as the years went by, kind of got loosened up a little bit. Dudes started showing up again in tech fleece. And then the Russell Westbrook thing happened, and we got league fits now. And the same thing happened with footwear. So there were uniformity rules put into place by the NBA for sneakers. You had to have a white base, you had to have a black base, you could have some gray in there, you had to have your team colors. But as the years went by, as we start to get into the mid 2000s, late 2000s, Nike starts to use big moments. Christmas Day, playoffs, All-Star Game, finals. They start to use these big moments as an excuse to create off-the-wall colorways. Stuff that really, really pops on screen. It didn't always match uniforms, but it always made a huge, huge impression on people that were watching, both in the arena and at home. Other brands start to follow. And so you go from having these uniformity rules that were really instituted because of MJ and because of the black and red Air Shifts, which would go on to be the black and red Air Jordan 1s. You go from that to having the moment where they lift the entire colorway rulebook a few years ago. And now you just see a stampede of creativity, honestly.